Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Adam here with Indy Farm Life. Early in January 2022, and I want to give you guys the first pond update of the year. I think the last update I left you with was in August of this past year. We were talking about evaporation and that we've lost a net 250,000 gallons of water from the spring to the late summer. So as I pan across here to give you a full view of the pond, if you've watched any of our other videos, you know that the water levels definitely come up a lot. Again, as a reminder, we don't have a stream or creek feeding this pond. It's just runoff from the property we have north of here and just rainwater that we're collecting. But back in August, I left you guys with an update where I had put these stakes in and the water was just lapping at the very front edge of that stake. So I will grab something to see how much we've come up since then. So this piece of OSB here, 8-footer marked at 1-foot intervals. Let's see how much it's come up since that time in August. So just over a foot, it looks like. Let's call that 13 or maybe 14 inches. So 14 inches of rise across this entire body of water. It's a lot of water. So you can see here I got water creeping up on my gangway, and these rocks are starting to get fully submerged. Need to pull some of those back. So if you've been with the channel for a while, you're pretty accustomed to these updates that I provide, call it quarterly or so. It's definitely come a long way since September of 19 when we wrapped it up. And for those of you who might be newer to our channel, i.e. joined after September of 19 and haven't seen the pond build videos, I would encourage you to go back and look at that playlist. I'll link that playlist at the end of this video. This pond is about 25 feet deep and we moved about 30,000 yards of dirt. Principally done by a John Deere 200D excavator, 9 Series John Deere tractor, and a 30-ton Holmes dump wagon, along with a couple bulldozers. It was quite the feat. Footage is pretty good too. I'll go out here and show you guys the areas that do have water running into the pond, and then have some ideas on some other ways we can capture some more water. So this area here is the channel that produces most of the water for the pond. And as you can see, the tire tracks here, this had actually all flooded out here after building the pond because the berm here stopped the water that was on the north end from running away. So I cut a channel with the tractor and drained a pond into a pond. I got water on the lens. So after having made that cut, this thing continues to collect all the water on the north end of the pond and does a nice job at feeding it. You can see there a good amount of water making its way in there. Now the downfall is that this is going to ultimately back up once the pond gets full, because the overflow up there is a little bit, I think, higher than this channel, but that's all right. I'll put a pipe in here at some point too to clean this up. But we'll walk back here, give you guys an idea of the collection pool, at least how that looks here in January. So yeah, quite a bit of water making its way into this low spot, and then ultimately just making its way into the pond. Again, there's nothing feeding the pond as far as a natural stream goes, so this has been very crucial for us to have in keeping the pond full, or on our way to full. Given how wet it is today, I don't think I'm going to go up the berm, which you see right here in front of us. It's gonna be really muddy and soft up there, but it's about 300 foot long, call it 80 feet deep, and about 35 foot tall, or about 30,000 yards of dirt. It's fairly soupy out here. No snow yet this year, all rain. And then here in front of us is another example of a low spot that really just need to cut more swales to get all the water to make its way over to that channel and drop down in. But nonetheless, it's looking pretty good. Got a piece of field tile here that we did not put in. It was actually just on the property, old clay tile, but it's grabbing a fair amount of water and tossing it into the pond. Not quite as much as the channel over there, but still adding water to the pond. Thought about getting the backhoe out and chasing this up and see where it goes. I don't know exactly where it runs up this way, but we'll take it. So it's always a mystery, right? When you see a body of water, you never quite know how deep it is. Is it a retention pond in a subdivision that might be 4 or 5 feet deep at maximum? And that's what most people are used to. But yeah, this pond here is probably about right now, I'd say 22, 23 foot deep out in this area. And like I said, go back and look at that playlist, guys, if you didn't see it, because this thing looked like a rock quarry when we got done with it. And maybe I'll even throw some of that footage at the very end of this video so you can get an idea. Plus, if you like big machines, there's that aspect too. Still planning to put a beach in, likely in this area here. Should have had it done a long time ago, just didn't get to it with building the house. I think I'm going to use a product called Muck Mats. If the Muck Mat guys are out there and they feel like sponsored, maybe great. Basically, they're mats that you put in the water that help dissipate the weight, so that when you walk on them or put sand on them, you don't lose it all into the clay, or you don't sink into the clay. A PVC pond liner or something like that would probably do the trick as well. Haven't decided which route I'm going to go, but there's a couple options. I'm also going to need to put a curb out there somewhere along the line to keep sand from going all the way down into the deep section. So trying to do that now versus, I don't know, call it a year and a half ago, it's going to be a little bit more tricky. So there's the overflow. I'm going to take this stick that I have and try to gauge exactly how much more water in vertical inches we need before we're full. I had guessed 18, and looks maybe more like just shy of 2 foot. I always reference this as a 1 acre pond. It will be 1 acre in surface area once we are full. So all that said, I want to take you guys over here and show you some of the areas of runoff we have on the property that are just a little low and can't make their way into the pond. And I have an idea or two, but I'd be curious what ideas you guys might have or advice you might have for me. But as you can see behind me, here's a great example. Water just pools everywhere out here, and we are, like I said, just a few feet below the bank of the pond, so this water is not going to make its way into the pond on its own. Now, when we dug the house, all this dirt you can see here behind me was from the basement, and we had tried to slope it back toward the pond. That didn't ultimately work. There wasn't enough of it, and then I took probably, I don't know, a couple hundred yards of it from my lawn and building up the backyard. So you guys saw that in those videos, but left us with an area here behind me that is just a lot lower than the pond. You can kind of see this shelf here, so we're flat, and then it steps up about 2 feet before we get to the level of the pond. So let me show you what's going on and some ideas I have. So as you can see here, water is just collecting absolutely everywhere. This area is just about 1 foot to 1.5 foot lower than the pond. And so here we are behind the barn. This field here is tiled, and that actually outlet is all the way down that way, so we're not getting a lot of water off that field. It's mostly off of my field coming in this way here. And all that water out behind the barn ultimately makes its way into this little creek, if you will. And I'm not really looking to take water out of this creek once it's made its way here, but more so prevent it from getting here. So as I walk back up this way, again, you can see all the low-lying areas that are just holding water and ultimately making its way down to that creek. So here's my idea. Tell me what you guys think. Regrade all of this, or rather just put swales in to better channel the water. And down here in the corner, dig a little retention pond with the backhoe. So just behind the topsoil pile, if I were to channel all of this water into one location and then pump it just enough to lift it up to get it into the pond. So as you can see here, the dock right in front of us, it's sitting, the pond is sitting a little bit higher than we are. I'd say maybe 2.5 to 3 feet. So I don't need much lift, just enough to climb over this mucky mess. So that's just a quick idea I had about how to get water into the pond cheaply. I'd probably use a sump pump or some other kind of trash pump to move that water. I wouldn't have it run 24/7. Just pump out that little retention pond whenever I feel the need to bring the level up out here a few inches. I think come next spring we're going to be in pretty good shape as far as this thing being close to full, but a little bit of insurance water wouldn't hurt. All that said, let me know your thoughts. I know some of you are probably going to comment and say, we'll drill a well for it. I really don't want to spend that much money on topping off this pond. When we drilled our well for the house, we had to go about 200 foot before we hit water, so not a cheap endeavor. Actually, what I've got, you guys, I'm going to grab this stick and walk out on the other side of the dock and just see how deep it is right off the edge of the dock. I don't know if this 8-foot stick will disappear or not, but I know this thing's getting deeper by the day. Let's see. Let's hope I don't go for a swim here. All right. Okay, so we're just shy of 7 foot deep right here off the dock. So go ahead and add roughly 2 foot to that when we're full at the overflow, and it's going to be 9 feet deep at about only, I don't know, what is that, 25 or 30 foot into the water. It's a deep pond. So a couple years in, I'm happy with where we are, the water level. I knew it was going to take a lot of time given there's nothing feeding it. But let me know your thoughts. Seriously, as much as I make these videos for you, I also look to all you guys for your advice and opinions, because a few thousand minds is better than one, right? Also, a couple other things about the pond, things I do plan to get to at some point. Fish, yes. Planning to stock bluegill, red ear sunfish, largemouth bass, and channel cat. Found a great PDF from Purdue University that explains how to stock. Just got to find some local hatcheries to provide that fish. So if anyone out there is in Indiana, central Indiana, and knows a place that'd be good and reputable, let me know. For that though, aeration, which is predicated on me getting electricity to my barn so that I can turn the water. And I also need to get some structure down there for habitat rather, for the fish. Planning on going with man-made stuff, plastic pallets, PVC and buckets, things like that. That way I'm not worried about it deteriorating, 20 years down the road and having a bunch of muck and organic material at the bottom of the pond. So those are a few things on my list. If you have any other ideas, let me know. I've been dialoguing with some folks online. Yeah, I think a zip line would be really cool, but need to get the nuts and bolts in place before we get all the crazy fun things. One thing about the aeration I am concerned about is what that will do to the temperature. Obviously we're going to need that air to keep the water turning and the oxygen levels up, but man, you jump down to the bottom of this thing in the dead of July and it's pretty cold, so I fear we may be swimming in ice water. Thank you for swinging through the channel and checking out this video. I look forward to chatting with you guys in the comments about what I should do as far as channeling some of this water into the pond and the cheapest method to do so. I just want this thing full. It's going to be gorgeous when you can see it from a long way off and not have to walk up to it just to see it. But if you would, hit that subscribe button and come back and see me sometime, and go check that playlist out too at the end of this video. Take care guys, we'll see you on the next one.